of felonies,
Yeah.
tampering with governmental records, and in Mr. Rose's case, aggravated perjury. Your thoughts, your reaction, sir?
Well, that's the first that I heard of that. I didn't know that they pled guilty. Certainly, if they pled guilty, it was because they were guilty, and I believe that they were. And I just hope that the judge or jury or whoever they pled guilty to could issue out the proper sentence and send a message.
What is your message to the public who may get pulled over for a traffic stop, an alleged speeding violation? There's been some time and distance between when this whole scandal broke. Nonetheless, people still remember it. These were obviously only 2 officers. A third is charged and awaiting his disposition. But what do you tell the public?
Well, first of all, I tell the public don't speak. Secondly, I would tell the public, just like we tell police officers, don't ever use a broad brush in judging the public because of any factors, whether that be cultural, ethnicity, race, sex, or whatever, and I will tell the public, don't judge the hardworking men of HPD by 2 criminal officers and what their conduct was. If you feel that your citation was improper or you didn't deserve it, then go through the process. That's why we have a court system. That's why we have an internal affairs division. You can call a supervisor to the scene. These are your options. But I would never insinuate or try to tell the public that we have other officers that are rogues or criminal, because that's not the case. What these people did was a violation of criminal law, and I think they deserve whatever they get from the courts.
Chief, as you know, the city is facing a budget crisis with the revenue cap. Do you have any message for the candidates now, or any views of how the city might address that problem? Because we won't be able to increase the staffing generally unless we can increase the budget.
Yes, I have a very strong message for the candidates. 2 messages. One, the public is continuing to hear over and over that one of the things that contributes to the financial woes or crisis of the city is pension contributions. Well, that situation is exacerbated when the city defers and defers and defers their contributions that they make to the plan. Because employees, individual police officers can't defer their contributions. They're taken out of their check monthly. That's number 1. 2, these police officers who are dependent and very deserving of those pensions and were promised certain pension benefits when they came here, deserve those benefits when they retire because they're not eligible for Social Security. And I don't think you've heard any candidate say that. The police officers are not eligible for Social Security. The pensions is all that they have. Last, I do think the cap is a hindrance, and at least I think the public should strongly consider, and we need to have a discussion on removing the cap, if for no other reason, public safety. You just heard me outline that this city has grown since 2002 by 400,000 residents. I have 200 less police officers. I don't know how the public continue to expect the members of this organization to keep pulling a rabbit out of the hat. At some point in time, we need reinforcements, and that time is here. I just think that it's no different from any other service. If we didn't have enough folks in solid waste to pick up the garbage, I think we would have a serious discussion about hiring more people to do that. If we didn't have enough firefighters to put out fires, I think we would have a serious discussion to do that. That is, to me, is the most fundamental priority and the top priority of any government. is to keep its residents safe. And that comes with cost.
Chief, could you tell us about HPD's plans to work with the mayor's new human trafficking advisor?
Well, we take human trafficking very seriously, and we're one of the few departments that we actually instituted a human trafficking squad, a whole unit, a lieutenant, sergeant, and I believe 6 officers that are dedicated to interrupting and interdicting human trafficking throughout the city and Houston region. For many, many years, and we continue to do so, have Houston police officers who are on the FBI's task force to try to interrupt human trafficking locally and internationally. And I think it's a good idea that the mayor did hire an overall coordinator, because there are many, many nonprofit organizations and other organizations that want to help, want to do something about it from an administrative point. So that person will actually help coordinate those activities, but still our role is law enforcement. So ours is more of an operational role, but we look forward to working together.
Chief, we share with your office some statistics, long-range statistics on police chases that end in fatalities, particularly bystanders or pedestrians caught at the wrong place at the wrong time. Can you please briefly outline the delicate balance of when to chase, when not to chase, when to call for chase, and that balance between the need to apprehend and pursue a suspect versus the risks to the public at large?
Okay, that's a very good question, Jeremy. And this is one that police chiefs and sheriffs have to wrestle with around the country constantly. And we have to constantly evaluate our policies and training. But let me just start first with where the responsibility lies. It lies with the criminal. Because any time that you evade or run from the police in a vehicle, you are committing a felony in the state of Texas. Let's just get that out there, and let me repeat that again. When you run from the police in the state of Texas, you are committing a felony. Now, our officers are trained. We put a lot of responsibilities on our sergeants, our supervisors, and even our shift commanders, the lieutenants, of how to manage chases. Any officer involved in the chase can call off a chase on any time, but here's what they're required to do. Kind of a major bullet point list that they must do. They must constantly evaluate traffic conditions, road conditions, the conditions of their vehicle, the risks of the continuing the chase versus public safety. All of those things must be considered. Whether the identity of the suspect is known, the type of crime that we believe that the person may have committed, all of those things take place during police chases. Now we'll say this. We're not an organization, and we're not one of those law enforcement agencies to where we're not going to chase you from running from the police. If all of those criteria, if some of those are not met, I expect officers and supervisors to stop if it's too dangerous. But we're not going to have a blanket policy that we will not chase anyone. I just don't think the public would expect me to stand up there and say that and still say that I'm committed to keeping the city safe. There are many folks that commit violent crimes, murders, robberies, rapes, all of those things that run from the police, and I think the public expect us to responsibly try to apprehend those folks, but be accountable, and our actions have to be measured. We do, because we don't want anyone to get hurt or injured or killed, in one of our police operations. I will say this. It is one of the more risky, dangerous activities that police agencies and police officers engage in around the country. Many police officers are killed in the line of duty in police chases. Losing one life, whether that's an officer's life, an innocent bystander, citizen, or even a suspect, is one too many, and it shouldn't happen if the suspect stops and doesn't flee. It is. But if you look at our track record, it has been fairly good, because we average about 2 chases every 24 hours. Many that you don't hear about or see because they last anywhere from 3 to 5, 10 minutes, and it's over. They don't go around Loop 610 or Beltway 8 or go for miles and miles where we got helicopter video where we're all watching it on TV. But when we're engaging in over 700 chases a year, I think our record is fairly good in how we manage and how responsible we are when it comes to police chases.
Chief, we recently did a story about how the number of smash and grabs across Houston seem to be on the rise, especially so far this month. Are you guys doing anything differently or anything new to help bring that number down?
Well, we're certainly following up on every single lead that we can regarding those smash and grabs. And you're right, we've had a little bit of a spike in the last month in those type of burglaries. But we got to remember, they're still put in categories of commercial burglaries, burglaries of businesses. That's what they are. Even though the methods that they use, driving a car through a wall or the front door of someone's business, is going to create a lot of damage. It's still a burglary of a business, and overall those crimes are down around the city. But we are actively pursuing several leads at this time, trying to apprehend individuals that may be responsible for that. I know Assistant Chief McKinney is here. Do you have anything that you want to add to that, Don?
No, sir, pretty much covered.
Okay.
Sir, what's your reaction of the whole controversy with El Chapo Guzman escaping from prison in Mexico?
Probably like any other law enforcement officer. How the hell did that happen? That would be my question. I had the same response when the people in New York escaped. You know, I'm a police officer. They pay me for putting them in, not letting them out. So I'm dumbfounded when people can escape out of a maximum security institution, whether that be in this country or some other country. I don't understand it. And I think that probably somebody's job ought to be on the line. If you're the warden or in charge of a prison and people are escaping out of your institution and you're charged with keeping folks in, something's wrong.
Sir, mental illness is also a problem that we see more often in the country. I know you have a special unit that knows how to deal with those phone calls, special policemen so that, they don't get scared. But not all your police officers are prepared to attend those phone calls. So a lot of times when we see these incidents that a police officer shot somebody who wouldn't let the knife down or whatever tool they had or gun or something, are you guys considering sometime in the future or sometime soon to maybe provide your officers a little more training how to react with a situation like that so we don't see parents losing their kids that are mentally ill, because they couldn't tell them like, oh, he's got a schizophrenia or he's bipolar, please have compassion, because I know when you're there, you also have to protect yourself. So it's understandable, but at the same time, we've seen several cases all across the country,
Yes.
So maybe some more training, but I know it is expensive too, so how could you solve that situation?
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about our program and how we're different from most other law enforcement agencies. We have one of the best mental health division and mental health training in the country. The Department of Justice has deemed our department as one of the 6 learning sites when it comes to our response to the mentally ill. Several years ago, we won the top award from the International Associations of Chiefs of Police for our mental health response and training. There is no law enforcement agency in the United States to do more mental health training than the Houston Police Department. Matter of fact, you're not going to find any other major police department that has a mental health division. They may have a few officers that do mental health stuff, but we got an entire division that's dedicated to mental health, homelessness, all of those things that, you know, that's a population that's overrepresented in our jails. Now, another cutting edge program that we have that other cities, other law enforcement agencies don't have, is we have a chronic consumer stabilization initiative to where there's 50 to 75 folks that we receive regular calls regarding to they're in some type of mental health crisis. And because of the frequency that we respond to those calls and the individuals, we're proactive. We take them to NPC to make sure that they get their medication, they have it. We check on them when they're not in mental health crisis to make sure that they're taking their medication, check with their family members. You know, we have a good grip on their psychosis and, you know, what their habits are. So we have seen the number of folks that were injured or we get into violent confrontations that went way, way down with that particular program. Also, we're one of the few law enforcement agencies that actually have a clinical, you know, technician when it comes to psychological issues that ride with a police officer to respond to our more critical mental health calls. So they have a clinician in the car. So when a person is in mental health crisis, not only do you have the officer there for safety and protection, but you have a trained psychologist that's there, a clinician that has more training than a police officer. So that's what we're doing about mental health, and we'll continue to do. Every single officer on this department has been trained in crisis intervention, including myself.
Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Hey, Chief.
All right.
I'm sorry about, I got here just a couple of minutes late. I apologize if you've already gone over this.